Darling, this is Kathy Murphy here, reporting from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law, and I'm channeling our star of tonight, Sunset Boulevard. Yes, it's all the drama, and it's been ghastly. I've been out of cigarettes, Robert. What am I to do?
Oh, I don't know, dear. But you look amazing.
Oh, just whatever. It's taken me hours with all my masseuse and all the different people trying to help this. And, you know, of course, I have my bird cage to kind of soften the lines. But anyway, we are here tonight to discuss one of the most iconic films ever. This is Sunset Boulevard, you all, tonight. And if you have not watched this film, it is absolutely considered one of the most brilliant classic films ever. And it was up for the Academy Award against All About Eve, which we just watched not too long ago. But the star was a silent movie star. And I'm telling you, you know, for being a silent movie star, she had quite a voice. And I loved how she'd arch those eyebrows back and pose in these incredible poses. And then you're perfect for the, you know, the William Holden role, which was the writer who was going to help her get her script ready for her big comeback into the talkies. So this was a film I've seen a lot in my life, but I watched it again, and I actually watched a whole montage of story behind the story on it. And she was like the 6th or 7th actress to be picked for this role. Started out with Ginger Rogers, but she turned it down. In fact, pretty much everybody that was offered this role did not want to be a has-been aging movie star.
Right.
And I have to say, I have to give her cred for taking on the role because she was fabulous.
Yeah, she was. You know, I mean, 1950. You know what's interesting? We were talking about all the actresses that were considered for the part, but you know that the writer actually was thinking of Mae West when he
Yes.
wrote.
And Mae West didn't want to do it either because she didn't. I mean, she was still doing shows into her, I think, in her 90s, and she did not see herself as a has-been. But it was fascinating. And then what was also fascinating is the William Holden role. You know, he'd done 10 years previously a film called The Golden Boy, which was just quite the opposite of what this show was. But he played it right on straight. And in fact, I think it was probably one of the best cast films, with Max, the film director, who ended up coming on and being her servant. And then the shocking spoiler of how their relationship came to be was he was the one that made her a star. And I won't tell any more than that because I'd forgotten the part where he gives the big spoiler. But also Billie Wilder film. I mean, who does films better than Billie Wilder? Right. You need to Double Indemnity, Some Like It Hot. Now there's one we should do. There is one we should do, and you'll have to dress up for that role. I'll tell you what, I'll be the Marilyn. I'll be the Jack Lemmon character, and you can be the Tony Curtis.
Okay.
Because that's the only way to do it. And not the Marilyn. Well, maybe I should do the, I should do the Jack Lemmon, not the Marilyn. Marilyn's just, you know, that's too easy. But the Jack Lemmon character is just, he was hilarious. But these films, to me, when I watch them, again, after it's been probably 8 years since I've seen this film, I am reminded at how well crafted the sets were, the cinematography, the little things. I mean, this house that they picked, I even read up about it, it's no longer there. It was not on Sunset Boulevard. It was somewhere else, and it had been abandoned. But the inside set was totally created in a sound studio, and the the character, the young woman who was just the ingenue, writer. Her name was Betty. Betty, was it Shaver? Shaver?
I believe that it was Schaefer. Let me
Yeah,
see.
Schaefer, Betty Schaefer. They had an interview with her. She looks fabulous, by the way. Uh,
So yeah, Nancy Olson played the role of Betty Schaefer.
Olsen played the role of, and she was from up around Wisconsin or Minnesota, and she just looked like the all-American girl. And what was wild is I don't remember that she was just 22. How old was William Holden in that movie? He was
Oh my,
way
he had to have been late 40s, don't you think?
Yeah, he could have been her father. And then they were acting like it was a big deal that he was having a relationship with this famous silent movie star when she was only 50
Right.
in
So
the
you're
film.
right. Well, and I'm wondering, I guess we'd have to look and see actually how old was Gloria Swanson when she played Norma Desmond. We'll have to look into that. But 50, I mean, 50 today is
No, I
youthful.
think she was 50 when she did that film and they thought she was over the hill. I'm 14 years older than she was in that film. And so I'm thinking, that shows you how much time has changed, because there's a lot of women like Meryl Streep.
Mhm.
I can think of a lot of women, Helen Mirren. They are, you know,
Right.
Judy Dench. There's a lot of women. In fact, Glenn Close, went on to do this on Broadway. There are a lot of women that were way older than her, but they at 50 she was over. But I
Right.
think I think she was 50 years old, and I was kind of shocked by that. And I was also kind of shocked to find out the Betty Schaefer character was just 22. And I bet that Arnie was quite a bit older than her too. That would played her fiance that was out in Arizona,
Right.
had no idea what was going on. But that I have to say, the William Holden character, uh, he was honest. I mean, he came all out and told her exactly what had happened in the situation. He couldn't make his rent. This woman offered him, and he said, I was, pretty much just like you when I came to Hollywood. I was ready to tear it up and write these screenplays and everything. But and when I watched that film as a kid, I remember how glamorous I thought that place was. Do you know the scene? And he goes, and you can come over and you and Arnie can swim in the pool. And I looked at that ridiculously square hole with the little metal rungs, and I'm thinking that was glamour. It
Mhm.
really wasn't that glamorous of a pool,
Right.
um, um, for all purposes and everything. But the cars were wonderful, and then the fact that Cecil B. DeMille,
Hmm.
played himself, and he
Right.
enjoyed playing himself.
Hmm.
And the relationship when she goes to the studio, because she thinks he wants to bring her back for the, is it
Yeah.
pronounced
That was
Salome or
the
um,
Salome.
Salome. I always get it wrong. Always get that name wrong. And she thinks she's going to make her big comeback when actually all they wanted to do was lease her car for
Use
a,
your car. That was so heartbreaking.
yeah. And I was trying to think whose film it was going to be for. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue who it was going to be for. But, and when he stopped to get the cigarettes,
Hmm.
Max forgot to fill my case. That drawn down mouth. And she was always, so dramatic. But she
Her
was talented.
silent film training.
Yes. And when you watch those, the train and, Charlie Chaplin, when that episode when she was mimicking him was priceless too.
That was great. It's funny. I never they refer to it as a dark comedy, and I guess there are a few humorous moments in the film,
I
but
didn't find any of it funny.
no, I think that perhaps maybe the Charlie Chaplin bit is interesting. So, the original opening was not the original, the what you see in the film. they actually filmed the opening was, you know, the opening that you see now that made it onto film was William Holden floating in a swimming pool.
Yes.
He was dead, and then you hear the voiceover. The original version, he was a corpse in a morgue with a toe tag with some other corpses, and it was all voiceover, and they were talking about how they came to be there, and the audience found it hysterical. They thought it was funny, and what they didn't want to have happen, of course, is to set the film tone with laughter.
But see, you know, a lot of people think that the Three Stooges, you know, the Marx Brothers, they all thought they were funny. And I watch them, it's just, they're clobbering each other all the time. I never thought they were funny.
Yeah, you have to have a taste, I suppose, for slapstick humor. You know what I found curious about how they actually were able to capture some of the filming. So when they filmed William Holden in the swimming pool,
Yes.
Billie Wilder didn't like the way that was looking.
Right.
They actually tried to do a camera underwater and photograph up, but what they actually did is they put a mirror at the bottom of the swimming pool and they shot out of the water down so you could see his reflection and the cop up above.
It was brilliant. And
Yeah.
the fact that it's hard to imagine that they didn't film it from, because it looked like it really was. They even built a tank for them to go in, but it was distorted. So that's when they came up with the idea of a mirror. I actually did an art installation where I had to hide. I did a floating door over a creek, and I had to hide the how it was being held up. We just wanted to look like it was floating over this creek. And so we got dollar store mirrors, tore the frames off of it, and there was a log running across, and we put them underneath, and it reflected back the creek. So it looks just like that's great set design. I mean,
Yeah.
just the fact that they did that, but her makeup and having all those people come in and doing all those exercises on her neck, and I'm going, yes, if I put on a bird cage all the time, it does soften the lines, but all that stuff she did, and she had lost 3 pounds. I'm going, oh my honey, I did all that and all I lost was 3 pounds, I'd be, but she was driven to make this big comeback. But it kind of makes me wonder why she waited that long, because it'd been 20 years.
Right.
That's a long time to make a comeback.
Well, of course, she obviously had some emotional issues. So we don't know at what points, she was perhaps incapacitated or unwell. She had.
I mean, narcissist. I don't know, but she was, she slit her wrist. They took all the doorknobs out of the mansion because they were afraid she'd harm herself. But I'd seen it before, so I knew what was going to happen. But if it was the first time you saw it and she pulls out the gun, you think she's going to kill herself. So for people who have never seen it, there's some big shockers in this movie. In fact, the Max character fascinated me, and I watched a whole little documentary thing about his story. He evidently did a 17-hour long film that became it killed him as a film director because it was so ridiculous. It was like an art film or something. I don't know what it was, but he spent so much time watching Billie Wilder, how he was filming it. He was really paying attention. They said every day he'd be ready for a set. He never had to do his lines more than once. He had them down. He was so well versed on what he had to do. They would shoot it the first time. I mean, there were no blurb, where they had to reshoot. He had it down every time. And he was just creepy, the way he hung in the shadows. And when he came back that one night, William Holden's character came back that night from being out working on this other script, and he goes into the garage and he's standing in the corner just waiting on him. It kind of reminded me, did you ever see To Kill a Mockingbird?
Mm-hmm.
When they realized
Boo?
that in the bedroom, Boo's standing behind the door.
Yeah.
When I
Right.
was a kid, I was like, oh, I look like Norma Desmond. So anyway, there were lots of moments in there that I didn't find it funny. Did you find any of it funny?
No, I think that there were I think there were a few lines that were a bit humorous, the things that William Holden would say. There was that comment, there's a comment when he's watching them bury the chimpanzee, when they had the chimpanzee funeral.
I thought that was so sad.
It was sad. So I would have called it film noir, but I wouldn't really call it dark comedy. And,
I
and they,
think film noir is
yeah,
better because it's that black and white old Hollywood. It's atmospheric. It's got, everything, the drama, the night of the big party that she has, and how she's got, the small quartet or whatever, the orchestra, the playing, and the floors, the tiled floors, and how they mention the floors a lot. You know,
yeah.
she
And
put,
the Valentino would only wanted to do the flamenco on a certain sort of floor, and that was the floor,
hmm,
the
it's
tango.
yes, the tango, and I think I love movies that have the voiceovers because
Mhm.
that's what they did. To Kill a Mockingbird's my favorite film, and that's what they did. They had her adult voice. If you ever saw, oh, here's another one we should do, Peyton Place.
Mhm.
Did you ever see Peyton Place?
That's
They have the
great. Yeah.
voiceover of the girl as she's gone to New York to become a serious journalist, and she's remembering back. Um, I'm trying to think if they did that. Do you remember the film Summer Place with
Mhm.
Troy Donahue and
And Sandra Dee.
yes, was didn't they have some voiceover in that? It's a and I listened to why they do that. And they said that they do that because it's a great way to get through a lot of dialogue quickly without lots of set changes and lines to be memorized. You can cover a lot of time by doing that. And that car was just, it was really awesome. The real skin leopard seats,
Mhm.
and um, it was pretty amazing.
So she was a wealthy woman, just a very sad woman.
Yeah, you know, if Billie Wilder had ever gotten a hold of any of Tennessee Williams' plays to movies, wouldn't that have been fabulous?
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think who did Streetcar Named Desire. Do you remember the director?
I don't, but we can find out quickly.
It's really funny when you watch as many films as I do. It always brings you a reference to another film. And actually, I have my hair dark, but was she a redhead? It's hard to tell because it was black or white.
Yeah. I'm not certain. It looked dark. You know what? In certain scenes, it looked a little lighter than at other times. So I
I
don't
think
know.
her hair may have been red, auburn, dark auburn, but that's something I don't know. Another thing I'll have to check out and everything. And and she smoked a cigarette I'd never heard of before. They were called it was like from Turkey, like a Turkish name, like was it Sultana or what was the name of those cigarettes that he said, do you have any? Um, and then he forgot to bring them out to her in the car. That was pretty wild.
Let's look and see if I could quickly find out what her so she had that really crazy silver smoke ring, so she could
Oh,
actually,
that wire thing that stuck
yeah.
out, and that was pretty cool. I've never seen one of those before.
No, no,
I've seen
that was
cigarette holders and things, but I'd never seen the the
the
ring
ring.
on top of the finger.
You don't even have to hold it. It's just there you go.
Empty my ashtray. And then I love the wax figures,
Oh
the
yeah,
all the old silent movies. I recognize every single one of them.
Buster
And
Keaton.
Buster Keaton.
There had a Hopper played herself too.
Was
Had a,
that really had a
had a
hopper?
Hopper was in the film. Yeah.
That was pretty cool too. but there were a lot of in-depth, if you go on YouTube, everybody, they've got all these in-depth interviews with all the people involved with that film. But they said, even though it didn't win the Academy Award, there were just so many great ones that year. And of course, All About Eve won. But I really think every single character could have been nominated. There wasn't anybody that didn't pull their own weight, and she kept talking about William Holden being the linchpin of bringing it all together, because he played it really straight.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if he was in his 40s, that makes me understand even better why he was a realist. You know, he wasn't living in a fantasy world. He was going, I don't have any money. They took his car, you know, he didn't have money to pay his rent. But it was so creepy when the servant went to his apartment and got all of his stuff and brought it there and made up the bed. And how did he do that? I mean, I guess if you pull in that kind of car and say, I'm here to get Mr.
Absolutely. They'll let you go right on in. And probably perhaps he paid them.
Oh, yes, because money was no object. And I loved how she went on the sound set and he said, I'm going to sit you right here in my chair so you can watch everything. And he placated her, but then he never called her. It's really, and evidently Hollywood was very upset by this film, because now they embrace films that make fun of Hollywood. Have you noticed that? Because we had Mank, and we had what was the other one I watched? It was a Netflix series where they were making fun of Hollywood, and you know how they always try to cover up the gay scene in Hollywood. And that was fascinating, how they handled, you know, you had these publicists that basically hid everything. You know, they bought people off, they killed it in the newspapers. If you post this, then we'll do this. It was so powerful. They could make or break somebody just like that. You know, pregnancies disappeared. You know, actresses adopted their own children because
right.
That was pretty crazy. It was pretty amazing, the things that they would do. But this woman the actress was really fantastic in the film. And she never broke character. And it's from all those years, I guess, of doing those silent movies.
Yeah. You know, Gloria Swanson supposedly went through a whole series of treatments herself before they filmed the movie.
Looking younger.
Yeah, like plastic surgery, I guess was sort of in its infancy, but she supposedly had, you know, whatever she could have done, she had done to get ready for the film.
That's really interesting because, you know, she was only 50, but to me, she looked way older than that.
Well, you know, the hairstyles and makeup of the time too really aged.
Yeah, this style is not very youthful looking.
Yeah, it's, you know, just that in itself is going to age them.
Drawing those lips down. I mean, she's always had her lips drawn so far down in this. I guess that was considered cool.
Yeah, of course, you know, back in the day when Gloria Swanson, when it was in her heyday, she was quite the fashionista.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she was quite a glamour.
But a lot of those silent movie stars, to me, when I look back at them, they really weren't what I call beautiful women.
Right.
In fact, what was the one that always dressed like a child and she was like old?
Mary Pickford.
Mary Pickford. Oh my gosh, Mary Pickford would have those long blonde, you know, rolly hair and, you know, all that stuff. And I just thought, but they did it for children too. We talked about that last time, where they would put them in baby doll dresses with their little panties showing to make them look like they were babies and they were teenagers, you know.
You know, some speculate, you know, like who they based Norma Desmond on. And I guess she's sort of an amalgamation of several characters: Clara Bow, Mary Pickford, quite a few women. There was I forget her her first name. Last name was Talmadge. They also
Norma,
speculated,
Norma
yeah, Norma
Talmadge.
Talmadge, that she might have been also part of the inspiration for the character of Norma Desmond.
Well, it's fascinating, and it's fascinating too how men, you know, the William Holden character really fascinated me because he never got frustrated or upset with her. He felt sorry for her. I
Yeah.
really think he felt like, because he himself had already in his 40s had found out what it's like not to be able to do the things that he goes, I guess I'm going to go back. Was it Ohio that he was going to go back and work for $35 a week in the newspaper with his tail between his legs? And I go, I don't see anything wrong with working at a newspaper. It doesn't matter what you make, but I guess everything was about looks.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go to Hollywood, you don't want to have to go back home. Though I've noticed the trend today is a lot of people that made it pretty big now are just leading ordinary lives and loving it. They've chosen not to do movies anymore. They just want to be a mom, or they've gone back to college and got their degree in something else. Or I think my favorite story of, I love the Little Rascals. And one of the Little Rascals grew up, and he's now a big entertainment attorney for the stars. I'm trying to think which one it was. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't Alfalfa because he's gone.
Right.
And it wasn't Spanky because he's gone. But I can't remember which one it was. But and I actually met Butch at Book Expo. Nicest guy. He was the toughie, the nicest man. He lives in Dallas. I don't know if he's still living, but he was there with his wife, and I talked to him for a long time and got his autograph on a picture with all the gang. And his wife was paraplegic in a wheelchair, and he just took wonderful care of her the whole time. It was very touching. And I thought, well, he was just such a bully in the Little Rascal.
He was little, and it was a tiny thing.
Yeah. So, but this film, I wonder if that Max did anything after that.
So the character Max was played by Eric von Stroheim, who actually, started his career as a director. So really, he was a bit bitter about the role of Max because he felt like it tracked his real life.
Well,
He started off as a director, and then he was a director, an actor, and a producer. But he did go on to do more films after Sunset Boulevard.
He did. Wow. And that film was not that successful when it came out, was it? Not like it is now.
Right. Yeah, this guy certainly has, a cult following. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the level of initial success was with the film. I know it had certainly a lot of build up and a lot of press around it.
The same thing with It's a Wonderful Life. It was not, people didn't really like it back in the day. Now it's one of the most revered, probably most watched Christmas films of all time. And there was another one like that nobody liked at the time, and now everybody loves it. I guess it's kind of like, if it's a movie about Hollywood and the story, I guess it was a little too close for comfort for the studios to see that happening. But who were some of the other people that it was Mae West, it was Ginger Rogers, it was there was like 5 or 6 that they said they asked, and they all turned down the role. Though the William Holden role, they were wanting James Dean. I can't imagine. He would
Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift.
Montgomery Clift,
Yeah,
not James.
Montgomery Clift.
He played James Dean. Montgomery Clift, but Montgomery Clift was way younger. It would have been a different movie because he was like at the peak of, well, wait a minute. This film was made in what year?
1950.
Yeah, he was like right at the peak of the films that he was doing that made him famous, like, West Side Story, the ones with Natalie Wood.
Right.
Um, but he would have been too young, don't you think?
Here, I'm going to do a quick Google. So, how old was William Holden?
In Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
He
Let's
may have been her age. You don't know. I don't think he was, but
um, let's see.
that would be fascinating.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how old he was. You know what? I know another way about it. We'll do a little bit of math. So,
When was he born? Yeah.
yeah. William Holden. He was born in 1918.
Oh,
So let's see.
was he? Wait a minute. 1918, and this film was done in what year?
1950.
So then he would have been 40. Well, actually, he would have been
32. So he was 32. So he and Montgomery Clift could have been close in age.
He was right between the Betty Schaefer 22, and then I'm pretty sure that they said she was really Gloria Swanson was really 50. But it reminds me of another film that starred Catherine and Dustin Hoffman. Catherine, she's married to what was the famous movie where Dustin Hoffman and he has an affair with the mother?
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know that he was the same age as Mrs. Robinson? He was the same age as, or just a little bit younger. He was not, in
it was The Graduate. I'm sorry, Mrs. Robinson.
The Graduate. Mrs. Robinson was the character that was the mother of the girl he ended up marrying. But they were closer to the same age, and the daughter was supposed to be in her 20s.
So this is just what I found. So although Swanson was only 50 when she filmed the role, they said that they actually worked hard to make her appear older in the film. So I guess it was through lighting and that harsh makeup that they actually worked to actually make her look older than she actually.
How old was she supposed to be? Like in her 70s or something? Or
yeah, I think you're probably older than 50. Well, actually, no, because there's some dialogue where he says, wake up. Normally, I mean, you're 50, so what? There's nothing tragic about that, only if you're trying to be 25.
And he was 30.
32.
He looked older in 32 to me.
He did look older, right? But I think people just looked older then.
If you saw a picture of my grandmother at 40, she looked an awful like she wore her hair in those black pin curls and red lipstick, and she had those cat eye glasses. She looked to me about 80.
Yeah, they
did.
I
remember we used to like to dress her up in clothes. And on her 70th birthday, we put her in a 70th outfit with a long wig and a mini skirt and fishnets and go-go boots. She looked good.
Yeah.
She really looked young. And I go, so a lot of the way we look is how we dress.
Yeah, absolutely. And outlook. I think that if you thought that you were old at a certain age, then you were old at a certain age.
Because I'm thinking, you know what I look like really, but she was 14 years younger than me. I could actually have been her mother because, my grandmother had her daughter at first daughter at 14. So I'm thinking, oh my, wow. That's how we become so youth cultured nowadays. It was good to become a grown up.
Right. Oh my gosh, though, I'm actually older than Norma Desmond was in the film. Oh my God. That's scary.
Yeah. You couldn't even play the William Holt. Well, you could have. You could have played
hysterical. So, what I loved about the film, I think you stated earlier, was the fact that there was lovely voiceovers. and the writing was stunning. Like there's this William Holden playing Joe Gillis. He says this thing about the place. The whole place seemed to have been stricken with a kind of creeping paralysis, out of beat with the rest of the world, crumbling apart in slow motion.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's lovely. It just kind of gives you chills. It's, I mean, just
Whole
amazing.
thing kind of did, but it's like a train wreck. You can't
Yeah.
peel your eyes away from what's happening. And when she would dance with him, you know, she was just like, "Hold me closer," and he always would. And I think I'd be going, "Ooh."
I know. Well, yeah, she was, I guess he felt some sort of kinship and um, with her. And then, because, he was failing himself.
Think because he was failing as a screenwriter, and then when he meets the young ingenue who's working at Paramount and working on all the stuff, he wants to be a writer and everything. It's like it brought back his when he first came to Hollywood and how he was trying to make it and everything. But I'm telling you, it is, if I've known lots of people that have gone out to Hollywood, including my own mother, it is, I don't know if it's luck or what, but it is really hard to break in. I said, you're better off if you can start something, closer to home. And now Nashville's become the same way. Nashville, it used to be you could hop in your truck with your guitar and your husband driving and changing clothes in the back seat like Loretta Lynn. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
You can go into any nightclub in Nashville and you can hear acts that are just, I mean, will blow you away, and they're nobody.
Hmm.
And I think, there's a little girl down the road from me that has made it really big in Nashville. Well, two girls, three, I can think of, they're all from around here. Casey Musgroves is just from down the road from me, and so is Miranda Lambert and Faith Hill, and they're all from East Texas. And how they broke out, it's pretty amazing. I think Faith Hill started out in pageants,
She
maybe
did. Yeah, she was
a
in beauty
pageant.
pageants.
So, but and I saw a picture recently of Matthew McConaughey in at his prom. I didn't even recognize him. He just looks like a baby, in high school. And I just think, he looks good now, but
Mhm.
he looks like, he's in junior high and he's like a senior in high school going to prom. But they had a thing I was celebrities on prom pics. I'm telling you, that was just hilarious because a lot of them had the 80s big hair and those big bow dresses and stuff like.
Oh, I know. My prom, I was, a teenager of the 80s. Um, my junior prom, I wore a pink tuxedo from the Miami Vice collection.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I remember when I went to prom, it was the 70s. I wore, do you know what a gunny sack dress is?
Yes.
Like the prairie dress. And I wore a big blue floppy hat. It was oatmeal colors with little sprigs of flowers and kind of crocheted lace and platform jute wedgies. And I remember a guy came to prom. I think that was my senior prom. It was like Stairway to Heaven or something like that. But this guy wore a Dusty Rose 3-piece wide lapel, and he had kind of the precursor to the mullet.
Yeah.
It was kind of that Peter Frampton longer, hair, but he
I
had
like that.
platforms.
You know what? I loved parts of the 70s silhouette. I love those wide lapels and those fitted big collared shirts. I love them.
Yeah,
Um,
you can still find them at Goodwill sometimes. So
Absolutely.
you
Well,
need
there was a period of
to do
time.
a 70s film. We need to do a 70s film because I'll have to wear my rockin' bell bottoms.
Well, we could do, what's fun is when Warren Beatty's the hairdresser in Shampoo.
We should do shampoo.
Yeah, that could be so much fun.
We need to get out of this era because I'm tired of wearing these retro.
Yeah, we're gonna do Shampoo.
Shampoo. Let's do that next. Oh, that would be great because I had Julie Christie and Goldie Hawn and Warren Beatty. And who was the husband that was married to, was it Goldie Hawn? it was a famous actor, and I want to say it's I can picture him. And she said, "That's my hairdresser." And because men, they thought all, if a man was a hairdresser, they were all
He
gay.
was good.
He go,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, it's your
Well,
hair."
I do have a really cool shirt I can wear for shampoo, and I've got my lovely Dorian Gray wig. There
Shampoo.
we go.
I don't know who I'll be. I don't think I can pull off Ju, Julie Christie, but I might be able to, you know, I don't know if I put on that lip gloss and do my eyes really big, I might be able to be Goldie Hawn. But I'll have to watch it. I haven't seen that thing
Oh my
probably
gosh,
since
me
the
either.
'70s.
It's been a long time.
That's perfect. I hope we can find it. So let's
Yeah,
plan on
we'll have
doing that.
this
Now,
evening.
we need to get out of this era. We've kind of been stuck on it for some time, and then we'll have to do a famous film from the '80s.
Oh, a funny maybe Breakfast Club or Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink, because I could probably make a dress like Molly Ringgold.
Yeah,
That was the most horrific dress I've
it
ever seen
was.
in my
And
life.
she hated that dress.
It
When
was
they brought
horrible. It
when
looked
they
like it was made out of the lining from a dress. It
it was
wasn't even made out of, you know, outside material. It looked like that taffeta that they put on the inside of all those bridesmaids dresses. It was pretty bad.
very bad.
But oh yeah. Okay, shampoo. We'll do shampoo and then Pretty in Pink. So
Yeah.
we'll go '70s and then '80s, and then we'll have to think about the '90s. I know what one I remember in the '90s that was so popular, and it's so funny to me now when I've seen it. John Travolta, and he played Urban Cowboy.
Uh, on the heels of Saturday Night Fever.
Well, Saturday Night Live has just been done to death, but Urban Cowboy, and when Dallas was in its prime and everything, it was like the hot thing to go down
That
to
was.
Pasadena
Country Western.
and go to that famous bar where they filmed Urban Cowboy in the Houston, so maybe that should be our next thing. We'll go '50s, we'll go '70s, '80s, and '90s, and
There
then
you go.
maybe we'll go back to the '50s after that.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something. But oh, I'm excited because we can go ahead and work those up on the calendar and get them up on our calendar of events on our book and film club on the Pulpwood Queens plural.com. Not plural, spell it out, but with an S. And we'll get it up on the calendar of events, and that'll give us some time to come up with some outfits.
Absolutely. So
Because
Kathy, so when we close out this evening, I'm going to feed you some closing lines. I want you to play as Norma Desmond when you
oh well, here, let me get ready. Okay, feed them to me and I'll do them.
And I promise you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. And I promise you I'll never desert you again.
And I promise you I'll never desert you again.
Because after Salome,
we'll
make another picture and another picture.
We'll make another picture and another picture.
You see, this is my life.
You see, this is my life.
It always will be. Nothing else.
It always will be. Nothing else.
Just us and the cameras.
Just us and the cameras.
And those wonderful people out there in the dark.
And those wonderful people out there in the dark.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. Oh my God. I love the lines. She had a million of them in this film that were just so priceless, but he had some zingers too. He had a few zingers in there that were pretty good. But of course, she nailed them. I was doing those cold, but that was a lot of fun. And I hope everybody goes. I watched it on, you can watch the backstories on YouTube, but I watched it on Amazon Prime. I think that's where I watched it. And if you're a Prime member, I think it was free. So watch the film. Please comment on our Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel. And so next up, we're going to be watching Shampoo with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie and uh, Goldie
Goldie
Hawn.
Hawn.
And then we're going to be we're going to the 80s. So we're going to watch Pretty in Pink with Molly. Oh, we've got Judge Reinhold. We've got all those, what do they call those group of people? They call
the Brat Pack.
The Brat Pack. And then we'll go into the 70s with Urban Cowboy. I mean, we haven't done anything like that. So that'll be a wide stretch. So that'll take us into June. And who knows? I was thinking maybe for the months of July and August, maybe we could have a theme.
Sure.
Like, you know how they have Shark Week on what's that thing? We could have a theme that's horror films or and I have some favorite horror films. My all-time favorite horror film is Halloween, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. And then I love Tim Burton's horror film. It had Michael J. Fox and it had the girl from Sex and the City. What's her name? The star, Jessica.
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't know what
the one about the aliens.
Oh, yeah. Mars
Attacks. Oh my God. Every time I watch that film, it's so graphic, but it is now that's funny to me. But what's your favorite horror film?
Oh, so I'm not a slasher sort of guy, but I guess you can call it horror in a way, but it's gothic. I love Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. It's my favorite.
That's one of my favorites. Oh, I could have a heyday with Betty Davis on that one. Get out my Southern Belle dress and do that. Yeah, Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. It was so scary to me when the head goes rolling down the stairs.
Yeah.
That would be a good one. I'm not really much into those horror films that are grotesque, but I do like the classic horror films like Frankenstein and we might watch Young Frankenstein. That's hilarious, with Gene Wilder and all those characters and Cloris Leachman. She stole the show in that film. So we'll think about that. We'll come up, let's think of themes. We've never done really any horror. And then what's another kind of theme? Like say August.
Well, it could be hot, southern, and sultry.
Yes, or it could be back to school picks.
Yes.
Like what's the Ronald Reagan film where it's with a chimpanzee?
Bedtime for Bonzo.
Oh my God, that was so funny. And they're running around and they're cheerleading in their little leather sweaters. Or a Mickey Rooney film. All of his were about
Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney.
Let's
put on a show.
Maybe it could be couples, famous couples.
Yeah.
Like The Thin Man or Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, or who's another famous couple? Oh, and I've got to tell you before we go tonight, I'm so excited. I got Joanne Lumley book. It's called Joanne Lumley Absolutely is the name of the book. And I'm 3/4 the way through it. I got it today.
Nice.
And I cannot believe how many films she was in, and I didn't realize it was her. She was in 2 Dracula movies, and yesterday was Dracula Day. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
My friend Karen Essex, who wrote this book, fabulous book called Dracula in Love, told from the woman's perspective. It's one of the best books. It's a very gothic type thing, but of course it's not set in the country. But I read the book, and she was in both with Christopher Lee and what's the other famous Dracula? There, Christopher Lee, and there were 2 of them that were really famous, and she got to be with both of them. She said they were just lovely. She played one the victim, and then the next movie she played the wife. I go, that Joanne Lumley, she has done it all, man. She's my new shero, I guess I should say. And I found out she never gets rid of a costume. I go, we have so much in common. She's never gets rid of a memento. She has scrapbooks. Her mother evidently has trunks of all of Joanne's film stuff and everything, but it's a picture book memoir. And I'm telling you, it is so fascinating. I'm almost done with it. I'm up to the part where she's doing Absolutely Fabulous. And I've watched all the episodes now. So I can make all the references and the clothes in that. We've got to do, when we start, maybe we'll do that in August, because I'm telling you, the clothes that they wear in that, and then all the husbands, you could be one of the husbands.
Sure.
I don't know which one. She's got some.
There's so many.
There's so many, but we'll work on that. So everybody, I guess we must say good night till next time when my next film debuts. We'll see you at the movies. So thank you, Robert. It's always a pleasure, and I hope everybody will keep coming. Check us out on Kathy L. Murphy channel, and hopefully we can get some more people on board when we do these live. This is actually being aired the Thursday before Saturday night. So when you see it, I'm going to post at 6:30 on Saturday night, and it'll be done. Have a wonderful Memorial weekend, and y'all, we'll see you at the movies, darling.
Good night.
Good night, Robert. Bye-bye.